welcome everyone to the home of the War Chant, Osceola, Renegade, and the Florida State Seminoles, a place simply known to some as the Dope. Little gets the blood boiling, quite like a rivalry game. Barbs, shots, trash talk, things that go on throughout the week will now all be settled on this field. As we'll see, the number 6 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes, taking on the 20th ranked team in the land, the Florida State Seminoles. For EA Sports College Football, Reese Davis with you alongside David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. Time to get this game started. And the Canes will boot it away to start the game. Fair catch called for and made. Looking for a productive play on first down. From the gun, they'll try to impose their running game. Finds Zach Brees, and he's got 4 out to the 29. This series is littered with Florida State heartbreaks in close games, but the last time they met, it was the Noles pulling out a close one.
Florida State found a way to get it done. If you can not involve the kicker a lot of times in this series, things will go well, but they executed. They made the plays they needed to. They got one in a row, Palmer. Can they get 2?
And, David, at the end of the day, it was just Florida State that executed better. They made a few more plays, a few more explosive plays, didn't make the same mental errors, and that's why they won that game close.
Solid pickup of 4 on first down. It's 2nd and 6. Trying to impose their will with the run. And how about that interior defense stuffing the run for nothing? When you think of the significance of these two programs in the history of college football, remarkable that they've only been playing since 1951.
It's crazy because there's so many games you can pull out of your brain, Reese, and I'm sure because you were born then when this rivalry started, that so many games that were so important that had such big implications, Jesse.
Yeah, it seems like over the course of 3 decades, right? The 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, every time these two teams played, Miami and Florida State, we were talking about how it would impact the national championship picture. This really has been one of the better rivalries in the sport, even though it's really not.
And they got him. A sack denies the try to convert on 4th down.
Aggressive. You want to be aggressive. You want to take chances, and you tell your team about it all week, and you come out and you get an opportunity in the first half to go for it on 4th down. You shot your shot. The problem is now you put your defense.
Got some room, headed to the goal line. And he sprints to the end zone. Touchdown, Canes. They can use this first score to sort of set the tone, guys, in this rivalry matchup.
Man, doesn't this feel good to come out, score early, get the crowd involved, get the nerves out of the way, Palmer, when you're playing in a big rivalry game?
Yeah, and I feel like momentum's always a big thing in any game, but in rivalry games, it's that much more important because everybody is going to feed off that first score now.
The defense going to stop the clock with a timeout. They want to make sure they have everybody on the same page. Line gets set, first down. He wants to start this drive with a pass. They get enough rush, and it pays off. The sack at the 20.
All right, this quarterback is going to have to start playing with a clock going off in his head. He knows he cannot hold on to the football too long with players like that getting after him.
Didn't help themselves much on first down. Let's see what they've got on second down from the 20. Wants to throw. It's Glenn. Just a short pass to the tight end. And the big fella couldn't elude the cornerback who makes a sure tackle. Third and long, and he'll try to throw for it. That pass not close as he got drilled trying to deliver it, and it'll bring up fourth down.
And this QB already in the first quarter has taken some serious punishment. Got sacked a bunch, got hit a bunch. He's been targeted a lot. This offense needs to find some answers before we're going to be looking at his backup playing some serious snaps.
The offense failed to convert on fourth down earlier, but that didn't change their thinking here. Receivers telling the quarterback what they see. On fourth down, they're taking to the air. Oh, picked off. He'll try to take it back. Touchdown, Miami. A great return for the touchdown. Any return for a touchdown is a great one to a defense.
How about that, man? Fourth down, trying to go make a play, get this offense going, get it sparked, get some points on the board, and that couldn't have gone any worse. They throw the pick. Not only that, they return it all the way back for 6. That offense just shot themselves right in the foot.
And he did get that extra point through the slippery surface, no problem.
Miami, 14, Florida State.
They're about to kick it away, and the defense probably can't wait to get back out there after the pick six. Not going to risk a return here. He'll make the fair catch. Guys, here comes that Florida State offense back onto the field. To say this has been a slow start is a bit of an understatement, and they really need to get it going here, Jesse.
That's right. The opponent, they're firing on all cylinders right out of the gate. Offensively, for this unit, they've been slow and struggling. They need an explosive play to wake themselves up.
Yeah, and it's just the first quarter, so it's not the end of the world. You've seen slow starts, but you got to continue to pick and pick and pick until you find that play or that scheme that you can use against this defense.
Looking downfield, it's Glenn. Gets it out fast. And works it to the 40-yard line. That'll be a first down.
That's a really good-looking throw there. I think about back in my day playing for the Gators, we were known as having this high-octane passing attack with Steve Spurrier, but every time we played the Seminoles and Chris Wenke, of course, would go on to win a Heisman Trophy, we knew that we were going to have to be executing at a high level. This guy right here, when he gets going and he gets into a groove, he just does not miss. He is able to light up the scoreboard for the Seminoles.
Now from the 40, it's 1st and 10. Looking to move it through the air. Snagged in the middle, it's Smith. And good coverage by the defense, just a short gain.
I want to get my running backs the ball in space as much as possible, and sometimes it doesn't work in the running game. But I can throw it to him. I can try to create some space out wide, dump him the football, let him make some catches, and see if I can't get some big plays out of him.
On second down, looking again to throw. Fires the pass, intercepted. Dances away again. And he's wrapped up after a solid...
Rain, sleet, snow, sun shining. I don't care. I get interceptions. Give me that rock.
And here comes that Miami offense back onto the field. That last drive really productive. David wound up with a touchdown. They'll try to do it again.
Yeah, so I don't expect this offense to change too much, Reese. They had a great drive. They got the touchdown. Everything working. I would expect them to keep pushing this ball downhill.
And just imagine if they could put another touchdown on the board right here. They could capture so much momentum in this game with back-to-back TDs.
Halfway there on first down, it's 2nd and 5. Give to the running back. Fighting off the defender. Knocked down at the 35 after a pickup of 3.
You know what I really like about games like this at this point in the season? You find out who you are. You find out whether you're going to stay in the race.
And who can step up and handle the challenge, right? This is easily one of the toughest games to date for both of these programs coming into this one. So there's a lot of eyeballs, David, on this game to find out who's mentally and emotionally the toughest.
Yeah, and we're going to point to this game as we get later in the year and big decisions are made. You've got a top 25 win. You beat them in the middle of the season, X, Y, and Z, so these are big for the resume.
And had they not picked up that first down, it would have been decision time for the head coach, right? You're kind of in no man's land on the fridge. Are you trying a long field goal? Are you going for it on 4th down? But because of the execution there and the nice throw, let's keep this drive going. Let's see if we can get 6.
He's knocked down in the backfield. He'll lose a couple.
And that play shows you really what this defense is about. It's a difficult one to attack. They're really good. One of the best in the country. They come at you from all angles. So I'm interested to watch. How do you mix up the play calling? How do you keep the defense off balance? Because they are a good one.
Looking to throw, it's Wall. Finds his tight end. Got enough space. Touchdown, Hurricane. Made the grab and finished the deal in the end zone. No midseason doldrums for these guys as they push out the lead in week 6. Let's go to the studio now and check in with Kevin Connors. Kevin, what do you got?
Hey, guys, got a final score in a big top 25 matchup. UAB went on the road and silenced one of the most vocal crowds in football. And it's clear this Blazers team has adopted the mantra, let your play do the talking. Really unexpected outcome in this ranked-on-ranked matchup. The type of loss, guys, that'll get the attention of even a good football team.
Yeah, how about that? Sounds as if they had a good ball game there. Kevin, thanks for the update. The Seminoles have it back. They'll try to get that offensive spear flaming. After throwing the pick on the last drive, need to take care of the ball this time, Jesse.
We're going to find out a lot about this quarterback right here, too. How does he fight through adversity after that last drive?
Yeah, clear the mechanism, move on. That's a part of it. You're going to be a great player. You got to learn how to handle these mistakes and move on.
Great job by the defense here rallying to this wide receiver and making the tackle. He is dangerous. They don't want to let this receiver get behind them, but they know that when he makes catches, they better rally quickly and get this guy on the ground. He is fast.
Reels it in down the left side. Oh, look out. He's showing it all. The juice, the jets, the moves, and he's got it down to the 16-yard line.
What a beautiful throw and catch on this play, and I love the job the receiver did tracking the ball in the air. Nice job of locating the throw and then hauling it in.
They're threatening to score, and they'll throw it. How about that play to get a hand in there and force the incompletion?
Oh, man. The quarterback almost just threw his second interception on as many drives. He's trying to fit that football in there. It gets tipped up in the air. He's lucky that wasn't picked off.
Offense gets set for 2nd down. Quarterback reacting to what the D is showing. From the gun, they'll give it on the inside. Made a little something out of that run. He picked up a couple down to the 14. Now facing a 3rd and long. Jackson will throw. Fires into the end zone. And the incomplete pass will wrap up the first quarter.
That's the end of the first quarter. Miami 24, Florida State 0.
Well, they haven't been able to get it done on 4th down so far today. They've missed on their first 2 attempts. Is the 3rd time the charm? He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And he's sacked. A big play on 4th down to stop this drive.
I know that was tough, but as a quarterback, you got to know on 4th down, you cannot take a sack. Any way, shape, or form, you've got to be able to get rid of that football and give it an opportunity. That time, I know it wasn't blocked perfect, but the quarterback's got to have more sense of urgency.
And he fires over the middle. It's incomplete. Not sure exactly what went haywire there, but the timing was just off.
And that's your job as a defense, right? You got to find a way to disrupt the timing and jam wide receivers or get to the quarterback and make him feel uncomfortable, but you can't let that timing be easy and effortless. Nice job by the defense.
Got to be smart, patient, great vision, uses all of that to get to the 29.
Keep pounding away at this defense and make them play the run. If you can get this many a chunk, they're going to have to commit more guys to the box, more guys to the run. Then you open it up for the passing game.
They'll run for it on 3rd and short. Tackle is made, but not until he gets the first down.
Well, as a defense, you know this is going to be a challenge every time you face this offense. They're one of the 25 best in the nation at getting first downs because they can pick them up in a variety of ways, including running the football. You have got to be physical when facing off against this offense.
Off the play fake on 1st down to throw. Looking to the big tight end. Got his man on the right. Ripped off a huge chunk play on that one as he gets the first down before he steps out of bounds.
That's a beautiful pass and catch. I love the job the quarterback does manipulating the defense with his eyes. He froze that safety, and that allowed his receiver more room to work his route.
To the air, it's Wall. Feeling some heat. Didn't have much of a choice there, but to get rid of it. They'll line up for a 2nd down play. He's looking to throw. Fires deep toward the end zone. And good coverage there to knock it away and deny the score.
You know, if you're going to complete these dagger throws, you've got to have great anticipation as a quarterback. You almost got to throw it before the receiver comes out of the break. You need better timing on that play.
They were really starting to put a drive together after a couple of incompletions. Now they need a big play on 3rd and 10. And he got a hand in there, knocks it away, incomplete.
Really nice 3rd down sub defense there that time. It's 3rd and long. They're expecting pass. And they're mixing up their looks. They're trying to change the picture pre-snap to post-snap to confuse the quarterback. Now forcing the incompletion, setting up 4th.
3 straight incompletions, and undaunted, they'll go for it on 4th and 10. Little too anxious along that offensive line. That'll be a false start. So the decision has been made, and the coach will take the penalty. And the Hurricanes come to the line trying to convert on 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And it's incomplete. The long pass downfield they couldn't hook up.
You know, offensively in that situation, 4th down, you're throwing for it. Everything has to go right, or someone just needs to be able to make a play to keep the drive alive. They couldn't get it done, and now the offense is coming off the field.
Guys, here comes that Florida State offense back onto the field. They just haven't been able to get anything going, and they better get started or it's going to get away from them, David.
Yeah, and these are the weeks that you really wish that you were playing a video game. And you could just reset the console, start over, Jesse, and make something better happen early.
They just look like they're sleepwalking in this first half, and it's not just one guy. They just haven't been playing collectively as a unit. And if I'm the head coach, I'm considering starting to give some other dudes some chances here.
Quarterback checking the play. Jackson gonna throw it. Showing the arm strength down the left side. And it slips through his fingers, incomplete. That would have been a huge gain if he could have held on. Linebackers moving, trying to confuse the quarterback. On 3rd down, he drops the throw. And they got him for the sack.
You got to be impressed with this defense early in this game, guys. They've got a big lead because they are getting after the quarterback. They've already generated multiple sacks. They thought coming into this game they could take advantage of this offensive line, and that game plan is working to perfection.
You want to talk about aggressive or wacky? This head coach is keeping his offense on the field inside his own 30. On 4th down, he'll try to toss it. They're bringing heat. Hit as he throws. That ball never had a chance, and they'll turn it over on downs.
And I don't know how to explain that one. 4th down and long, the percentages are low anyways, and on your side of the field, that is not the way I want to create momentum or start my first half. I'm not sure what they were thinking on offense.
Here comes the Hurricane offense looking to gather a little more strength. There have been a couple of missed opportunities for these offenses in the last couple. Fires a ball, now it's picked off. Bringing it back. He's at the 30. Inside the 10. Touchdown, Florida State. What a great play by the defense and paying it off with the interception return. The DB saw it. He thought, don't drop it, then thought, don't get caught, and he didn't. The pick 6.
Hey, these guys can play offense too now. Look at this. I showed you I can be a wide receiver. Coach might split him out at wide receiver next week after making that big play, but defense, great job making the interception, and you're right, doing something with it. Don't just slide down. Don't be content. Take that thing all the way back, brother.
He's able to grab the football, and the hands team gets the job done.
We're only in the first half, and I don't think anybody had onside kick in the second quarter on their bingo card. They were trying to catch the opponent off guard, but it didn't work. Now let's find out what this offense can do. You've got to make them pay for gambling.
Offense getting set for 1st down. They'll leave it with the lone back. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
We're trying to run the ball on 1st down, guys, but just nothing doing up front. Their offensive line got blown up on that play. There was nowhere for that guy to go.
Didn't get much done on that first play of the drive. It's 2nd and 11. Dropping back, it's Wall. Pocket starts to collapse. That pass is incomplete, and they're probably fortunate that it wasn't knocked free for a fumble. Better find the earplugs. Here comes the noise, backing this defense on third down. From the gun, wants to pass. Throws to the tight end. Finds a man on the right. Big gain on that one as he steps out of bounds with a first down.
Man, if I'm a defense, I got to find a way to get some more pressure on the quarterback or disrupt their timing and their rhythm. I can't give them these big chunk plays through the air. I got to be maybe a little bit more aggressive or do something a little bit different.
The Hurricanes will have it 1st and 10. Wide receiver coming across in motion. With jet sweep pass. Finally run out of bounds, but he has this offense rolling with a first down.
And these touch passes, it's so hard because there's always action off of it, right? If I fake this pass and I can run it up the gut or I can throw it and it just spread me out and make me defend so many things, and you could tell they got on the edge quickly, got the big first down.
Miles ahead for a pickup of 4 down to the 14.
Picks up 4. Brings up 2nd down.
Going to work in the red zone. They can pick up the first down without getting it into the end zone. Give to Brown. They knock him down after a pickup of 4. Ball is at the 9-yard line.
I think you run that play on 2nd down knowing it's going to make 3rd down easy. You're not trying to hit a home run. You don't need the big play right now. Now you know 3rd down, everything's on the table, everything's available, high success rate.
We've reached the 2-minute warning, and they will try to build on what has already been a dominant first-half performance. Not a lot of ground to cover and not much to defend. A big 3rd down in the red zone. Got it behind the line. It's Johnson. There to make the stop, but they used the back in the passing game and pick up the first down.
And the defense brought the blitz on 3rd down, trying to see if they could rattle the quarterback. But how about the poise? He knew where his answer was. He didn't panic or freak out. He just went through his progressions, picked up the first, and we got a fresh set of downs.
This offense has been a juggernaut, and they have a chance to pad their total just before halftime. Wide out in motion. They'll dial up the run on 1st and goal. He's got it down to the 1-yard line right on the doorstep of Pater.
I know the passing game sells and the passing game is exciting, but it's not exciting to get 5 or 6 yards a pop on the ground, but it will be very successful.
Looking for just one more yard. It's 2nd and goal. On the option. And he waltzes in for the score. Touchdown, Canes! Lining up to tack one more onto that lead. And the extra point is true, and the lead balloons to 21. And let's check in with Kevin Connors in the studio. Kevin?
Week in and week out, guys, you never know what's going to happen in college football. Check this out. UNLV is currently working from behind, but how many times have we said that and then witnessed something special happen? This time of year, you just never know. They're trailing by just 4 to Hawaii. We'll circle back. If anything big happens, you should know about it.
Oh, and how about that? I know Kevin and those guys will be keeping an eye on it for us. The Seminoles have it back. They'll try to get that offensive spear flaming. This late in the half, you're behind. You'd love to create something before the break to build momentum, Jesse.
But you've also had some miscues on offense, a big part of why you're losing the game right now. I'd take it into halftime, make my adjustments, and come out ready in the second half.
Yeah, I'm going to take it into halftime too, Farmer, but I'm trying to put some points up right here. Be aggressive, set the tone, be like, hey, listen, this is what you're going to get in the second half, so find something really quickly you can go to.
Makes his man miss. And the defense had that one well covered, just a short game there. A timeout is called as this offense tries to find a way to get more points on the board before the half. Now on 2nd down after the short completion. Jackson will throw. That pass is incomplete, and they might be fortunate it wasn't knocked free for a fumble. It'll be 3rd down.
There's a good example of how the pressure on the quarterback can affect his accuracy. There was no way that ball was being completed.
Some 3rd down conversions tougher than others. This one a long one on 3rd down from the 43. Quick pass on the fly motion. He ended up losing yardage on the play, and that'll bring up 4th down. The Seminoles are in the hurry up. Quarterback making adjustments with his receivers. On 4th down, trying to find his man. Quarterback moving out of the pocket. And he's not going to have enough. That defense outfights him and stops him short, riding him out of bounds.
It's really early in the game right now, and if it's 4th and short, 4th and medium, maybe I see going for it, certainly. But 4th and long, that's a situation I think you got to punt and just let the game play out. Trust your defense a little bit more.
Trying to find his man on 1st down. Pass is incomplete, and that's going to do it for the 1st half. That's the end of the 2nd quarter. That means it's time to join Kevin in our halftime update. I guess they're trying to send a message to start this 2nd half, lined up for an onside kick. They were ready for the onside kick and executed perfectly, and they secure the football.
Well, they're trying to pounce on their opponent with the lead in the 2nd half, trying to steal a possession, but give the return team credit. They may not have been set up perfectly for that onside kick, but they're Johnny on the spot, and now their offense is licking their chops, hoping to go down and score.
And here comes that Miami offense back onto the field. Comes out throwing on 1st down. Takes a hit as he fired. Hit hard just as he released it on 1st down and just couldn't get it to the receiver.
Man, what a good job by the pass rush, getting to the QB and putting a lick on him as he's throwing the football. That's what you want. It doesn't matter about sacks. You've got to get quarterback hits.
Motion from the offense. They weren't able to get that one off. It'll be a delay of game. The quarterback just lost track of the play clock, didn't get the snap off quickly enough. Here comes the offense on second down. Touch pass on the run. Just a solid stop by this sophomore.
Well, and on these little push passes, timing is so important. You're trying to snap it right as he's getting a full head of steam. When he gets the ball, he's hitting the outside, and David, it puts the defense in such a difficult spot.
You immediately have to be rotating when you see that motion, so everybody's got to communicate and kind of bump over. That's why offenses love to run it. It makes the defense communicate and see if you can just get him out of a spot.
If they can convert here, that type of play can really give you a shot of momentum. Movement from the linebackers trying to mess with the offensive line's assignments. On third and long, hoping to throw beyond the sticks. Throw to the sideline, and it's complete, and they've got a big play.
Well, Reese, you and I were talking about this before the game. How is this defense going to be able to deal with all the speed they have offensively? You saw them just rip off a big play.
And, Jesse, now their head's spinning just a little bit. Give up a big chunk play, and it's right back at them. Made a little something out of that run. He picked up a couple down to the 14.
At the 14-yard line. Second down coming up.
Going to work on second down in the red zone, and still some ground to cover to pick up that first down. To throw, it's Wall. And his throw is incomplete. Really need to pick up this conversion and avoid having to settle for the field goal. He's got it. Can't quite cross the plane to get the 6, but they'll have the first down.
You got to be impressed by what you just saw from this offense. They're already in the red zone, right? The coach is telling the quarterback, be smart, don't do anything crazy with the football. We can't turn it over. We're already in field goal range, and he's like, no, man, I got my matchup one-on-one. I know where I'm going, and not just that. I'm not just going to get the first. I'm going to set you up now on the goal line. Let's roll.
Yeah, what a great job by the defense. You got to understand, it's physical time, right? They want to run the football when they start getting inside the 5. Nice job getting penetration, getting the tackle for the loss.
After getting knocked back, it's second and goal from the 4. They'll run it to the left here, looking for the goal line. Touchdown, Miami! And the pummeling has started. They'll try to add another to their lead. And with the extra point, they push the lead out a little further. So that drive didn't have to cover a lot of ground, going 47 yards. And they finished it off with the score from the 4. No return coming. He'll call for the fair catch. Guys, here comes that Florida State offense back onto the field. We'll see if that failed fourth down in their own end last time, David, sort of curbed some of the aggressiveness.
When you hear about it all the time in football, go for it, be aggressive. The problem is when you get stopped, sometimes they put you in a hole. And Jesse, now the offense has to come out and respond.
They were real disappointed not getting that first down. You could see it on the sideline. So let's just see if that's kind of galvanized them a little bit here to go make a statement and get some points.
To the ground, he's got it again. At midfield, he's got room. Good pickup there as he gets the first down. They'll mark him at the 48.
The interesting thing about these RPOs is it takes a lot of communication. You know, the quarterback sticks it in the belly of the running back, and the running back doesn't know if he's going to take it or not. And you could tell, took the football, got north-south, got upfield, got a great positive gain and a positive play for this offense.
Got it on the outside. It's Thomas. A penalty on the play, and it looks like offensive pass interference. After getting moved back, it's 1st and 20. From the gun, running back on the move. Continuing to turn and move it forward, and they're closing in on midfield. It's down at the 48.
Listen, that wasn't the greatest run in the world, but it was very successful, and you're making me honor the run. And another thing, every time you run the football, someone gets tackled. There's physicality involved in the game. So I like when offenses commit to the running the football, no matter what the outcome is, because those body blows do add up.
The receivers often will run their route based on a side adjustment. Jackson gonna throw it. Got his man in the middle. He breaks a tackle. And he slips the first defender and picks up a handful of yards. The Noles come to the line in the hurry-up. On 3rd down, going up top. That's caught. It's Williams. After the filthy move, he's got room. Almost took it all the way, but a huge gain, and he has him set up 1st and goal.
How nice is it as a quarterback when you don't have to throw post routes to get great stats? No, I can just throw it quickly to one of the fastest players in the entire nation and let him burn this defense.
And the Noles will try to put one on the board on 1st and goal.
Get set.
They'll try to get it in with the run. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
It's been that kind of day for this offense, right? It seems like anything they're dialing up just simply isn't working. But at this point, David, I don't know if it's even worth trying to run the ball.
Probably not. You're getting destroyed right now. Nothing has gone your way, and when you're down this much, I think the running game is used sporadically, not as a staple. Let's throw this football around and see what can happen.
After getting nothing done on 1st down, 2nd and goal from the 6. Grabbed in the backfield. It's Hill. He's all the way down to the 2-yard line. Just spectacular execution there.
I love offenses and quarterbacks that are willing to take the easy stuff. Take those easy throws that are guaranteed to get positive yards. Yeah, I'm going to take big shots down the field too. But don't forget, it's easier to pick up 2nd and 5, 3rd and 5 than it is when we start getting those long yardage situations.
This offense in dire need of a touchdown is 3rd and goal, but this is probably 4-down territory. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
And I like it. I like it a little bit different in this area, and I probably know I'm going for it on 4th down. 4th down is green zone. Especially in this area of the field, I'm going for it. I'm trying to get a touchdown. I probably had that in mind. I got a little bit of a positive gain. Now let's go for it and punch it in.
Trailing by multiple possessions in the 3rd and desperately needing a score, they'll go for it on 4th down. The option look. Now the pitch. And he takes it to the house. Touchdown, no! Got to start cutting into this lead somewhere. Now the question, will they have enough time?
But that's step one. You got to get that first score. You got to get back in the ball game and get some of that momentum back on your side. You still got more work to do, but step one accomplished.
And for a quick update, let's go to Kevin Connors in the studio.
A lot of eyeballs on your game, guys, and a few on this interesting matchup as well. UNLV is currently working from behind, but how many times have we said that and then witnessed something special happen? This time of year, you just never know. It's a touchdown game. They're trailing by 7 to Hawaii. For now, it's back to you fellas, but of course, if anything changes, you'll see it right here.
And how about that one? Kevin will be keeping an eye on everything going on elsewhere. here comes the Hurricane offense looking to gather a little more strength. Off the play fake on first down. Blasted as he lets it go. And the ball is picked off. Just a small return, but a big play as they have it now at the 45. Second interception of the day for the Seminoles. It's like they've run a secondary out there with Deion Sanders, Terrell Buckley, and Lee Corso.
And what does Deion say? You know, look good, feel good, play good, get paid good. These guys in the secondary making plays. This man might have made himself some money at the next level.
So, guys, we'll see this offense again. He's going to pass. Quarterback now on the run, still looking. And that defensive penetration gave him no chance, and he is ridden out of bounds. Not sure exactly what led to that, whether the protection wasn't right or the quarterback just didn't see it, but the result was a negative play and a sack.
Well, one thing I do know is that quarterback had no chance to get that ball downfield. That pocket was breaking down, and it was breaking down quickly. There were just too many bodies in that backfield for the QB to make anything happen.
He is smashing people. Good, solid tackle. Now facing a third down as they line up after the break. Jackson will throw. Just gets rid of it to the running back underneath. And they knock him down, but he got past the line of the game.
Well, look, that wasn't a touchdown, but that was a massive play for this offense. They needed some momentum. They needed to find a rhythm, and what better way than converting on third down. Awesome job by the quarterback getting through his progression.
And the Seminoles getting set on 1st and 10. He wants to throw. Unloads to the wideout. It's caught downfield. And chunk plays are the name of the game, and they get one here before the defense finally makes the stop.
I'll tell you what, that's great execution between the QB and receiver. They look like they could execute that throw in their sleep. Quarterback took his steps, threw it on time. Great route by the receiver. Nice job securing the catch.
The Seminoles look to keep this drive humming. From the red zone, he's going to throw it. Makes the grab. That completion will take it inside the 4, and the offense is threatening. Defense is backed up. Shadow of the goalpost trying to defend their own end zone. The aerial assault continues. Throw to the end zone, picked off. And the senior just snatched the ball out of the air and gave it back to his offense. They'll snap it from the 20 for the opening play of this drive. They'll come out on this drive and let it rip. And that one falls incomplete. They tried to go over the top on first down. Second down coming up.
I'm a little bit surprised they're still throwing the football here this late in the game with this kind of lead. They're on first down, taking a shot, falls incomplete, but obviously they're still seeing matchups that they want to take advantage of in the back end of this defense, so they're letting it fly.
Looking to throw, it's Wall. He's got his man. They make the stop right there. Good pickup, is still short of the first down.
He's been a matchup problem all season long. Defenses just don't know how to solve the puzzle. And with that last catch, over 500 yards receiving now on the year for him.
He's going to look for a man on third and short. They're trying to get to him. He's going to take off. They make the stop, but what a job on the scramble to get loose and pick up that first down.
Great players like this just do a good job of making you pay. And if you want to drop back and play coverage, that's fine. He can scramble around, buy time, beat you down the field. But if nothing's open, boom. I take it and easily get a first down, make a big play, just make it a headache for the defense.
Fast motion from the offense. Quick touch pass to the receiver. He is stopped behind the line of scrimmage. They'll lose yards on that one.
Got to give the defense credit. Watching film, anticipating. They knew that this offense had this play in their back pocket. They knew about the speed of this wide receiver and different ways they were going to try to get him involved. Everybody on defense on the same page, playing together. I love it.
He's looking for a man on second down. Lets it fly. And it's incomplete after taking a shot on second down. They're staring at third.
This reminds me of the guy I used to play for in college down in Gainesville, the head ball coach. He used to like to do this. He would have big leads in the fourth quarter. He was still letting his QBs throw it deep down the field.
This is a third and long. Looking downfield, and he needs a bunch. And he got smacked just as he released the pass. It's incomplete.
And that is a frustrating possession for this offense. You wanted to run the football, maybe take some time. You did the opposite. Got in a bad situation, threw the football, stopped the clock. Not how you manage a game late in the fourth quarter.
They already have a comfortable lead, up by multiple possessions, but they're going to go for it here on fourth down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. Going to take a shot. Can't hook up on the long throw, and fourth down goes by the boards for this offense.
This is so Jesse Palmer. Exactly what he would do. Continue to put the foot on the accelerator, try to rub it in. Can't win by enough. Gotta look good in the polls. This is your kind of offense, Palmer.
The Seminoles have it back. They'll try to get that offensive spear flaming. And boy, they missed an opportunity last time throwing that pick in the red zone, David.
Yeah, and you got to put that frustration behind you. You can't turn it over. That's a Cardinal sin. You know better than that, Jesse. You can't take points off the board, but you got to move on.
You do. I think he just got way too overeager down in the red zone that last drive. So just come out here, trust your reads, trust what your coaches have told you to do, and just go out and execute the offense.
Jackson going to throw it. And it's incomplete. If you're going to take a hit like that, you might as well hang on to the ball.
This defense has just been all over this guy all game long. Under pressure, they're finding a way to get to him and affect his rhythm. Of course, they have an interception in this game. That's why they've got a big lead here in the fourth quarter. This guy has never gotten into a rhythm.
Quarterback changing the plays at the line. He wants to throw here on second down. And it'll be incomplete. This defense is physical in pass deep.
At this point in the game in the fourth quarter, it is going to be tough for this offense to get some completions here because now, trailing by this much, the defense is expecting pass, and they're putting a whole bunch of extra DBs on the field to help them out in coverage.
I'm not positive, but that first down marker might be in the next county. On third and long, a check down would be the last resort. He took a hit as he threw it and couldn't deliver the football. It's incomplete, and fourth down's coming. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And it's knocked away, and they don't convert on fourth down.
Listen, with the aggressiveness of offenses and taking chances, a lot of times it's going to put your defense in a hole. And this defense is going to have to come through in the clutch right here because you're trailing. They can't get more scores. They got to get a stop on this possession, and the offense is going to have to do better than they just did.
Wide receiver shows motion. Off the play fake on first down, wants to throw. And they got him. They'll get him down for the sack.
When it's a play-action pass, that quarterback, he really has to sell the fake. He can't tell his offensive lineman's getting beat right away while he's selling the fake. He had no shot.
Looking for a man. It's Wall. Oh, he's going to take a shot at the DB. It's complete. A huge pickup. And it is a chunk play, a huge gain on that one before the defense brings it to an end. To the air on first down. Can't quite make the connection there. Might have led him a little too much. Back to the line after the incompletion. 2nd and 10 from the 37. He's looking to throw. And this sophomore able to wreak some havoc and get the sack.
Oh, it's a missed opportunity. You know the quarterback was excited. He saw man coverage. He thought he was going to have an opportunity to come up with a big play, but up front, they could not protect him well enough.
They'll try to keep this clock moving on the ground. He's dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3.
Well, the offensive line had everybody blocked except the defensive end. He was able to sneak into the backfield and get the tackle for loss.
We've reached the 2-minute warning, and this offense will be quite content just to drain the rest of the time away. They already have a comfortable lead up by multiple possessions, but they're going to go for it here on 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. And that deep shot's going to wind up incomplete, but we do have a flag on the field. Let's see what the official says. They already have a comfortable lead up by multiple possessions, but they're going to go for it here on 4th down. Wide receiver now comes in motion. Movement on the offensive line. That's going to be a false start, and they'll walk it back. And the offense will accept the penalty and move the ball forward. They already have a comfortable lead up by multiple possessions, but they're going to go for it here on 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. He'll take another shot here. Touchdown, Hurricane! And the stomping has commenced. With that score, it looks as if this bunch is about to go 6-1. The Hurricanes continue to gain strength, and they have built a lead on the Noles.
I think that speed from Miami is really starting to show itself here in the football game, and it just doesn't look like Florida State at this point, David, can keep up with all of that athleticism.
Speed and swag. They got it going now. They got the confidence going. And when Miami gets the confidence going, it is tough to beat. Florida State's going to have to make something happen and make it happen fast.
Guys, here comes that Florida State offense back onto the field. This has been a really disappointing performance, David, no question about that, but they can find some positives.
Yeah, and every time you watch the tape, you know, Jesse, coaches are pointing out, look at this. This was open if we just ran the details to the right route, hung on to the football. Little things can make a big difference.
Yeah, that's why they call it a game of inches, David. But I'll say this, if you're on offense, don't go on social media this week. It ain't going to be pretty after this performance. You've got to lock in. You got to take the week of practice very seriously and find those positives that you can build off, David, you're talking about.
And he doesn't find much running room, a short gain on the play.
And I think this offense is all but surrendered, right? Like they're down so much. They need to be throwing the football if they want to score a bunch of points to get back in this game. But they got to find something moving forward, man. This was a rough day. This was not a great offensive performance. They got to bounce back. The next opportunity, the next moment, because today, it was not a good day. Yeah, and this offense has to find a way to run the football. They got to get more creative, but whatever that looks like for this offense, something to jumpstart them, because nothing really going on the ground.
Yeah, defensively, though, you got to give them credit, too, because they knew that physically they were going to try to be challenged up front. That was a big MO for this offense coming into it. But the defense, they've risen to the occasion. Their front seven has dominated this entire game.
No matter how much college football changes, realignment, all of that kind of stuff, rivalries are consistent, and winning rivalry games, well, that's just the best.
Because they hate each other so much. So you take the field against your rival, you're able to put forth a performance like that. That is worth its weight in gold, David. Unbelievable effort here by the winning team, and bragging rights now for a while.
Bragging rights for a while. It's a fun thing to be able to accomplish. Now we also got to take in the next couple games, because this is always, there's a letdown that naturally happens after these big rivalry wins. We feel like our chest is poked out. We got to look on to the next game, focus in on this next one.
So that's going to do it for us. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis saying so long. This has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.